Well, thank you all very, very much. Appreciate your time and attention. And as I said, Mr. President, you don't have to worry. We are staying with Ukraine as long as Ukraine is there. Thank you all.
Thank you so much. All the best.
Ladies and gentlemen, please remain in your seats until the official delegations have departed. Thank you.
You were listening live there to a press conference by Presidents Biden and Zelensky speaking at the White House. It was sometimes an emotional press conference, particularly from President Zelensky. We heard Joe Biden there saying that Zelensky was open to pursuing a just peace, even though he said Vladimir Putin was not. Well, let's get some analysis now. Alexandra Filippenko has been listening to that and she joins me live now. Alexandra, we will come to the substance of that press conference in a moment. But first of all, what did you make of the optics of it all, first of all? Because Zelensky is a compelling public speaker and there were emotional moments there. There were some moments of humour as well, which you don't often see in these kind of press conferences. So I wonder what you made of the relationship today between Biden and Zelensky.
Definitely, you could see chemistry between the two. And of course, in the darkest hour of the war, it is difficult to expect a laughter at the press conference at this pivotal point, a very important point. But the fact that President Biden repeated that politics is always personal, and it's very important to look a politician in the eye, if it's a friend or if it's a foe. So it's particularly meaningful that they have this great relationship. So all those words that have been said, they are being said against the backdrop of a great relationship. You could see that it's a good relationship between President Zelensky and President Biden. And throughout the war, there have been moments of tension when Washington signaled that Ukrainian administration must be more thankful for the support that United States is giving. But for now, it looks like they are seeing eye to eye.
Indeed, and one of the most interesting moments for me listening to that press conference was when Biden said that Zelensky was open to pursuing a just peace. It was then later on while he was taking a question from a journalist that Biden said, if and when Zelensky is ready to talk to the Russians. That suggests to me that behind closed doors, there has been some kind of conversation about peace conference, perhaps, about a movement towards a negotiated way to end this war. What did you make of that kind of language? Did you find it significant?
I think this is the most significant, if we're talking about words now, what exactly have been said after talking about the chemistry. Those words about just peace are the most important of this press conference to me, it seems like, because President Zelensky later on commented on this just peace idea that for President Zelensky, for Ukraine, there are no compromises to freedom and territorial integrity of Ukraine. And then President Zelensky asked, what is just peace for parents who lost their kids, who lost their children? Afterwards, President Biden said that they have the same vision, free and independent Ukraine. That is what this just peace is. So, and I must say that another important thing that Biden said is that the United States must put President Zelensky to the place where he decides how he wants the war to end. So this just peace will be definitely on Ukrainian terms, and it's unequivocal support of the United States, and definitely talks or discussions rather about peace talks or global conference on peace are being held behind closed doors.
Do you think the Russians are part of those kind of informal conversations in one form or another? Because at least in public, the Kremlin is saying it sees no chance of peace talks or indeed even a truce at Christmas.
Following Russian politics, it almost looks like it's almost a failed state because there are different signals coming from different, let's say, sources, from foreign ministry, from the Kremlin, from different politicians or from oligarchs who are trying to broker peace on the name of Russia. There are different signals coming from everywhere. So I must say that most probably there are quite a lot of politicians, Russian politicians, that want to pursue peace, maybe even at any cost at this point. But for now, the Kremlin and President Putin, who is controlling the military, for now, they don't want to give up. And as we know, President Putin doesn't even mention President Zelensky by name. He just says that president or Ukraine's president. So he pretends as if President Zelensky doesn't even, there is no President Zelensky in the world. And he only wants to talk to President Biden. So we must look at what's going to happen. But definitely some Russian politicians are very much interested in peace talks.
One of the other interesting things to come out of this press conference, Alexandra, was that confirmation of the Patriot missile system to go to Ukrainian forces in the coming months. Just give us an overview for those that aren't military experts. What's the Patriot system? Why is it being sent to Ukraine? And why is it so significant?
It's significant, especially now, this Patriot missile battery. It's a sophisticated air defense system. And it's also an important point that President Biden made, that it's defense weapon, not escalatory weapon. It's just to stop Russian attacks. And that's what President Biden made sure that Kremlin heard and the world heard. So those sophisticated air defense system will help Ukraine to protect its cities from missiles and drones that Russia has fired at facilities, at crucial facilities, at houses, at people, actually. And President Zelensky trip comes at this pivotal point in the war, when the war is being waged on two fronts, in the fields, in the forests, in eastern Ukraine, in southern Ukraine, and in the skies over the country. And Ukrainian forces are trying to shoot down Russian missiles and drones that are aimed at civilian infrastructure. So those new Patriot missile battery, those air defense system will help protect civilian infrastructure. That's the most important point right now for Ukrainians.
Russia has always said, though, if the West does send Patriot missile systems like this to Ukraine, that there would be a deepening or intensifying of the conflict. So isn't there a risk, actually, that by sending these Patriot systems, this could backfire on Ukraine?
Well, that is why President Biden underlined that it's only to stop the attacks. They are not giving long-range missiles to Ukraine. The United States is not giving long-range missiles to Ukraine for now. And President Biden underlined that it's not escalatory. And I must say that right now, it's very important to look at what is happening on the ground, what is happening actually at the front. And now Russia is not at the let's say, at the point that it can escalate. And for now, the situation for Russian military is very difficult. And the harsh winter is coming not only to Ukraine, of course, but to Russia too. The Russian soldiers will not be able to fight in that cold weather that aggressively. So for now, Russia is not at the point where it can threaten Ukraine that much as it could just a few months ago. So probably those new Patriot missiles are not that, let's say, not escalatory. Actually, they are to defend Ukraine.
And you mentioned long-range missiles as well. They obviously haven't been dispatched by the United States to Ukraine. Do you think they might be? Do you think they should be?
Well, for now, President Biden made it clear that they will not be given to Ukraine. They will not be transported to Ukraine. And it's a matter of discussion in the future. And depending on whether there would be some peace talks or a global conference on peace that President Zelensky mentioned, I think that will decide in the future if those long-range missiles will be given to Ukraine. And first of all, what Ukrainians are asking asking is to close the skies. And we haven't heard anything about that, about closing the skies above Ukraine for now. So probably those things are a matter of discussion also behind closed doors, but in the future too, because President Biden said that he's committed to supporting Ukraine for as long as it takes. He repeatedly said that, and this means that probably new military equipment will be distributed to Ukraine in the future, and maybe even long-range missiles too.
Alexandra Filippenko, thanks very much indeed for talking to us and for sharing your analysis and your expertise with us on France 24.
Thank you.